saying other than cigarette. That's all I heard. But I know that when I'm walking down the street and a man turns to another man and asks for a cigarette, that's what he's asking for. So even though I don't speak any Russian, I can still pick up some words, and I can still understand by the cultural context what people are probably saying to me. It is the same thing. As you can see, I have made over 30 trips to China. Now, have any of you been to China? Okay, China is hey, there's my guys. So this is the guy who said, the problem I'm solving is. And anything else that he was saying, I might not have focused on. But as soon as he said, the problem I'm solving is, I locked on and I listened to it because he was about to tell me his problem. China is a very unusual and unique place, and I hope that all of you have the chance to go there someday. Primarily, the reason I go there is because of the food. I don't know. You have Chinese restaurants here, but maybe we have a lot of Chinese restaurants in America. The food is no good because they cook the food the way they think Americans want the food. So you have to go to a Chinese restaurant with a Chinese person and have that Chinese person order the food, and then you get the Chinese style food. But I go there, I've been going there for 15 years, and I have been trying unsuccessfully to convince them how to communicate. So language, you guys have all studied English for 10 years. Probably when you were in third form, you started studying English. Memorizing vocabulary, memorizing grammar. But that is not communication. And memorizing vocabulary and memorizing grammar will not help you in your communication as much as you think it does. What will help you is understanding how cultures function and how behavior plays into communication. So this morning, when I'm walking to the metro, it was that man's behavior that helped me understand he's asking me for a cigarette. I mean, I could hear the word. What's the word for cigarette in Russian? Okay, good. Okay, so I could hear that word, but it was his behavior. It was the situation of walking. I have been stopped and asked for cigarettes many times in many countries. The transaction is always the same, and you don't need the words to do it. And you would be surprised. I have been in Minsk for 3 months, and I go to restaurants, I go to bars, I go to stores, I go to shops. I live my whole entire life on a daily basis without using any Russian language at all. But I can still communicate fairly effectively, and I think you guys could communicate effectively too if you're in these English-speaking countries, but the success of your communication would not be based on your language. The success of your communication will be based on your cultural understanding. And one thing that's real good for you guys is that this is Europe. And the cultural distance between Europe and the United States is much shorter than the cultural distance between the United States and China. So the people in China, it's almost impossible for them to communicate, even though they have a bigger vocabulary than I do, and they know more grammar than I do in my language. Like, they know more English words and more grammar than I do, but they can't communicate. So that's a long way of saying that's what I want to talk to you about today. All right, I'm an English teacher, and I specialize in cross-cultural communication, and the way that we teach language is called the perform culture approach. So everything that you do in communicating is a performance. When you order coffee, that's a performance. Simply when you say hi to someone, that's a performance. So like that performance, that is not a performance that I can do in China. They don't shake hands. They don't shake hands in China. Do you know why they don't shake hands? Because of their culture, but more importantly, why in their culture don't they shake hands? Because your hands are dirty. Like, and if your hand is dirty, why would you want to touch somebody else's dirty hand? Like, you're not even comfortable with your own dirty hand. You don't want anything to do with their dirty hand. So it's the behavior of things like greetings. Everything that you do is a performance. Like, even though I don't speak Russian, I could have asked that man for a cigarette. Like, I could ask you for a cigarette even though I don't speak Russian. It is a performance. Everything that you do in language and communication is a performance. So if you understand how performances work and how they work in a certain culture, you can communicate. So I'll give you another example. 2 days ago, I was in Pinsk. So Pinsk is a nice town. Are any of you from Pinsk? Okay, I love Pinsk. Pinsk is beautiful. I was in a school. It was early in the morning. The director of the school came in. And I reached out my hand to him, and he before shaking my hand, he bowed. He kind of bowed to me, and that was very confusing. I don't know. Like, I had never seen that in Belarus. I have seen bowing in Korea. I have seen bowing in Japan, but this man bowed to me. Just not like a deep Korean bow. Like in Korea and Japan, they will like touch their head to the ground. They will completely bow. So I don't know, like, do people bow here? That used to be a thing. Okay. And he was older. He was an older guy. But I was prepared to shake his hand. I was not prepared for him to bow to me. So this was a performance that confused me, and it made me rethink where I am and how people communicate. And so when I travel, when I'm in a different place, this is the kind of thing I try to understand. And this is the kind of thing you need to understand. You need to understand how people in different cultures function. And it doesn't have, you're English. Where do they speak English? United States, England, Ireland, Scotland, Australia, New Zealand, Trinidad and Tobago, like some really small islands. But just because they speak English doesn't mean the culture of greetings is the same. So don't think it's enough just to learn language. You have to try to learn culture as well, because as we say, language and communication cannot be separated from culture. All communication happens within a culture, and when you learn language, you're not learning language, you're learning culture. You're learning how to do things and communicate in that culture. And we use this phrase, target culture. So if you're having meetings with people in the United States, that's your target culture. You have to understand them. If you're having meetings with people in the UK or Scotland or Ireland, that is your target culture. You have to try to understand that culture. It's not enough just to go to Scotland or Ireland and know English and think that you could communicate. In fact, if I went to Scotland or Ireland, I might not know how to communicate the way they communicate, because language is intertwined with culture. Okay. So this is a visual depiction of that. And this is our understanding of culture. It used to be that we would say language was part of culture. Culture is fashion, culture is food, culture is language. We used to say that's part of culture. Now, in the 21st century, the new understanding is that language plus communicate plus culture gives you communication. So I'll try to give you a few examples of what that means in reality. Okay, so you know the word football. Everybody knows the word football. So what is football? Is on the left or the right? Okay, it depends on the country, but we're in Belarus, so what's football? Okay, so that's what you consider to be football. And at last count, I think there are about 210 countries in the world. And 209 of them call this football. The one country that I'm from calls this soccer. So if you come to America and you're in a bar and you tell people you love football, so this is football. To me, this is football. And maybe you call this American football. Some people have tried to tell me that is rugby. But this is not rugby. The biggest difference is that you see those things they're wearing. They're wearing what we call pads on their shoulders, pads. So this thing they wear on their head, that's called a helmet. It is designed to protect your head from injury. But what we have found about the helmet is that the helmet makes a perfect weapon. So the way that they play the game is that whoever has the ball gets tackled, and they launch themselves like a missile with their head as the weapon. So this is football. Now, it's the same word. It's the same word, football. And I'll be honest with you, I have no idea why we call it football. It makes no sense whatsoever. You don't use your feet, and this thing, it's not even a round ball. You can't dribble it. You can't sort of shoot it. It is, you got to throw it. It's a very unique projectile. So it is not really football at all, but we call it football. But if you come to America and somebody says to you, hey, on Saturday afternoon, we're going to play football, do you want to play? You should probably say no. Because American football is violent, brutal, barbaric, and sometimes deadly. I'm not kidding. Like, has anybody ever died playing soccer? Maybe one person. People die playing football every year. School children. So like my nephew, football when he was maybe 6. Luckily, my sister prohibits him from playing. He's now. There's no more football. And maybe in 20 years, football will be eliminated because now we know football is brutal, violent, barbaric, and deadly. But it's still a game. It's the most famous game in America, and culture sort of revolves around it. And if you're asked to play football, you should say no because you might get hurt. But if you come to America and you don't understand that context, if I say to you, do you want to play football, and you think I'm talking about football, you'll probably say yes. But I'm talking about football, and you'll probably say no. So this is a good example of how language is the problem. You think you know the word, but the word has a very different meaning in a different country. You know, Australia, that's football. New Zealand, that's football. All those other English-speaking countries, That's football. But in America, this is football. So you have to keep in mind there are a lot of sides to language based on culture. Okay, so let's talk again about greetings. So ways that people greet. So even in the United States, not all people greet the same. So most people in the United States, they greet with a handshake. So if I'm meeting him, I walk up to him, we shake hands. That's a very typical greeting. Thank you. Okay. If I meet her in the United States, say, nice to meet you. Okay. Thanks. She did not hold out her hand. If she holds her hand, I shake her hand. But I don't hold my hand to her. Like with him, like I'll go right in, nice hand, like a good handshake. Okay. But with her, okay. All right. Okay. That is something that never happens in China. Like I've been 30 times, and the number of times that someone is because they don't hug, because your hand is dirty, like your body is dirty. So they don't do that. So okay, so that okay, yeah. We met 10 minutes ago. Now we're old friends, and she can give me a hug. Okay, so remember earlier that I met in Pince. So he walks into the room, he kind of like bows to me a little bit, and I shake his, and then we shake hands. There was a woman I was traveling with, another teacher, did not bow to her, but what he did is he kissed her on the cheek. Apparently that's the thing. And like, so we do that in America. Like, that's a very European to kiss people. And maybe, like, if I see her again later and we're really close, I will kiss her. But I would not do that in the United States, who I've just met. But I have, comfortable to me, a friend here, when I was first seeing her in February, I would say hello to her. She would kind of hold out her cheek to me, and I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to kiss her cheek. So she would be the cue that it is okay to kiss her cheek. To America, like, we don't really do that. For the most of the things I'm telling you, 100%. So, like, my friend, when I go to his house, he's safe on the cheek, which I have to admit, I find a little bit unusual. Like, I don't kiss his wife. I don't really want to kiss his wife on the cheek. He does that to my wife. It's comfortable with that. Just get comfortable with it. Okay. That's the first. No. That's the first one. First is so the people in America are what we call white people. So I would look at America. If we were in the States, I would look at this audience and I would say, this is a bunch of white people. This is like white. And so I would have certain greetings with you. But if when I and friends, African American, when I greet my African friends, I greet them differently. And they greet each other differently. This thing in the middle. So this thing in the middle is bro hug. So like when we hug, it's like body to body. But black men hug, it's kind of like your arms kind of like bodies separate. on the far right, that is what they do in Japan. They don't really do in China. So it's weird to meet people in thing. Shake hands, have a hug, you don't have a hug. This is what you do. This is what you do in China. When you meet people in China, all of China revolves around a smartphone. Have an app. It's called WeChat. China, get your phone and you scan their and do business cards. People in China usually do business cards. It's just all about WeChat. WeChat, it has business cards. It has replaced online system. You're your whole life. Yeah. So I thought maybe Viber would be like that. Viber is not quite everything. It's really sort of just social messaging. That's how I use it. In any case, different kinds of greetings. And in the United States, I can't just give you rules. I just say to you, if it's a man, reach out your hand. If it's a woman, you reach out your hand. If it's a black person, so it's all situational. You have to read the culture to have it's just about memorizing. So continue your language and your communication studies. You become cultural. Really, the to do this is YouTube. YouTube. People who I've met in Bruce, English and communication skills are people who have compulsively YouTube for hours at a time. Begin and not talking about language channels. I'm talking about 15-year-olds playing video games, and year-olds just making videos of their lives. Not instructional videos. Regular videos of people things. I'm not even talking about Big Bang Theory or Friends, whatever shows you guys. I'm talking about married people, married lives, and having community. Okay, so saying goodbye. Very different. Why? So this thing called the right out here. There is one friend in Minsk. She usually in America, people do it. We always shake hands. That's the rule. It usually is in America. Shake hands. There are situations when people fist bump. Okay, so for one thing, in the wintertime, a lot of people have colds. In the wintertime, a lot of people, they're like this or like you guys. When I was a kid, it's like the worst thing ever. Terrible idea. So now, what are you supposed to do when you sneeze? So my nephew, when they said when you kid chicken wing, that makes a lot more. If me, that makes more sense. America, you a fist bump, say, okay, I can't say, I can't, like, my hand out, sorry, shake your hand, I have a cold, let's fist bump, and then you fist bump. So it's sort of a cultural thing. In America, we are, but it's like China, we just don't, so you could have friends, very relationships, say goodbye to them, there's no hugging, it's really sort of feeling. Like I said, someone shake hands, and uncomfortable to know or hug goodbye. It's if you do a hug with them, that is uncomfortable. Require them to shake with me, it's comfortable for them. So if you shake hands with a Chinese person, you'll see like the right hand. I don't think. Okay. Some to earlier. Stop. I'm about out of time. Because we all speak English in countries, don't have the same. So culture if you here your startup, you don't communicate the same way you communicate with me. You know, one stereotype of I like men. They do. Beer. Like a little bit true. So like have a pint. You don't grab hey, pint. Let's share a pint. You want to have another, it's like, hey, you want to have another. So we have different languages, even English communicate differently. Okay. So he Prince and all of the different have that for this in Russian. But many of you know we're in Belgium. I would like to have. I collect it. Country I go to, I collect it, and it's very easy to get it in Russian. I've been able to find it. And of course,